All right. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here joining Alison Geskin in her session on When Alignment Breaks, a learning lab for organizational coaches. If you would like to introduce yourself and where you're from as we get settled in, and put those comments right in the chat. Your name, where you're from, what you're excited about it for this session. We have a few more people joining us in the waiting room, so we'll let everyone get settled in. Excellent. Welcome. Hi, Brittany. Hi, Bev. Welcome. We're excited to have everyone here. And we will be beginning here. We're just going to do a quick reminder of our agreements when we're in community together, enjoying the session and learning with one another. We also have an opportunity in our session today to receive continuing ed credits. So you'll see a screen pop up and ask you to enter your name to receive those credits. And but we don't want to waste any more time. We have a fantastic session ahead, and I want to introduce our speaker. So our next session is going to be led by Alison Geskin. She's PCC, a PCC assessor, and an ICF Global Ambassador. She's the founder of the Art of Strategy, where she works with executives and organizational coaches navigating the structural pressures of inside complex organizations. Today, Alison is opening up her toolbox, sharing 3 proprietary instruments built for coaches working inside the system: the invisible trap diagnostic, the coach identity stability worksheet, and the triad alignment framework. This is going to be a working lab, not a lecture. So be prepared, bring a real engagement to mind. You'll leave with language, instruments, and the structural lens that you can use right away Monday morning. To follow Alison's work and continue the conversation after the session, you can find her on LinkedIn at Alison Geskin or theartofstrategy.com. Please join me in welcoming Alison.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here. I am even more proud of our industry and our community. I have 3 seemingly simple, but oh my gosh, do they pack a powerful punch in terms of impact when it comes to tools for us today. 3 tools, 3 times to practice. This is a working lab. And if you like the tool, we've embedded the full access to the full instruments in the tools, making the tools super user-friendly. Everybody ready? Let's go. Coaching in organizations is incredibly powerful. And it's structurally complex in a ways that most training programs never, ever, ever touch or name. And so today is not about skill. You're already skilled. You're here because of your experience and your commitment. It's about 3 things that rarely get airtime for us as coaches. It's not skill, because you're already competent. It's not personal, because the drift is systemic. And it's not optional, because integrity must be designed. Drift is the slow erosion of coaching integrity. And it's not a sign that somebody is a bad coach. It is a systemic problem. It's predictable and it's workable. So in the next 60 minutes, we're going to work on 3 professional instruments, real tools to surface where drift may be operating in your current engagements. It's a lab. We're going to work together, real engagements, and it requires a degree of professional honesty that most workshops don't ask for. Let's find out what's actually happening in your practice. 3 blocks, and each block is centered on a power tool. The invisible trap diagnostic, we use this to assess drift in real engagements. Coaching identity, the stability worksheet, we use this to assess where identity pressure is highest. And the third one is the triad alignment framework. This is where we use to map structural integrity across the three-party system. So each block, I'll frame the tool. You're going to use it in breakouts, and we're going to integrate together. No hypotheticals, real work, real reflection. Before we enter the lab, I want to ask you this. In the chat, please and thank you. What most complicates your coaching inside organizations? In the chat. All of these, sponsor alignment, political dynamics, identity tension, confidentiality pressure, performance pressure, these are all structural. They're not personal failures. And this is the premise that we're going to operate from today. We're going to step into that lab. Let's see what the chat has to say. Yep, B's and C's. Look at that. Yep, political dynamics. Oh, this is exactly what we're going to work on today. Thank you. Thank you. Let's do this. The invisible trap diagnostic. Here's what it looks like in practice. So, drift begins before awareness does. So ownership starts to blur quietly. What does that mean? That means that when the executive's goal gradually starts to sound like the sponsor's language, and you notice, and you don't notice when it shifts. The next one is about the identity shifts and how it shifts subtly. Here you start to soften your questions. You become more careful. You stop naming the elephant in the room. The third is where ethics soften incrementally. Here is where you don't cross the line all at once. You just inch it over week by week by week. And then eventually what happens is that coaching becomes compliance. You're still sitting in the chair. You're still asking those questions, but you're no longer coaching. Now, none of this happens because a coach is weak or unethical. It happens because organizations are gravity fields. And unless you have the instruments to detect that drift, it operates beneath awareness. This is what we're about to use. This is the tool. You can access it in your chat. It is the invisible trap diagnostic, and I'll walk you through it. 4 domains. Each one surfaces a different category of identity risk. So ownership architecture. The core risk here is compliance masquerading as growth, when the executive's goal actually becomes the sponsor's agenda. You may not know it yet. This is the difference between I want someone to do versus I want someone to become. The next is around power and systemic gravity. This is the pull of that dominant narrative. Every single organizational system has gravity. The question is whether or not you get drafted and drifted into its orbit. The third domain is around ethical boundary and the stability of that, because boundary erosion happens under relational complexity. When you have a client, you trust the sponsor. For those internals, you trust your employer. When you want the contract renewed, for those internals, you want to keep your job. That's when ethical clarity really starts to get tested for us. And then that last domain is around coach identity and presence. And this is the elevation. This domain asks us which version of you is actually coaching right now. Each domain is ranked 1 to 5. It is not a performance review. This is a professional honesty instrument, and you're about to use it in a real engagement. I'd like you to now open up your diagnostic tool and I'll walk you through the breakout instructions. I'd like you to spend 3 or 4 minutes just completing the diagnostic tool by yourself. Use a real current engagement that comes to mind. You can name the engagement, the client or not. Then with your group, I really would like you to share what showed up for you. Were there any surprises? What is this tool making visible for you? Where is your heat map? You'll have 10 minutes and I cannot wait to see you back. I'm going to get us into breakouts now. Looks like everyone's coming back. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, I hope you had a good discussion. What I would love to ask you this, and let's put it in the chat. What called to you? What did this tool surface? I would love to see your comments in the chat, please and thank you. So what did this tool surface for you? What came up? What did it tell you? I would love for you to please and thank you share in the chat. Excellent. I went too quick.
Oops.
Oh, I'm just looking at the responses. Excellent. Ownership. Yes. It is a lot to think about, isn't it, Tate? That's why we created a smaller lab version. And if you want to go deeper, you can go to the full instrument. This was just a taste to practice and play. Oh, excellent, Miranda. Fantastic. Fantastic. That new perspective, especially if something feels off. Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. Here is the anchor for this work. Drift is absolutely predictable. And awareness creates that recalibration power. You now have a map. And why do we do this? Because we know that drift rarely starts with behavior. We know that it starts with identity. Let's move to the second tool that we have for us today, which is the Coach Identity Stability Worksheet. This is about professional rigor. It's not about vulnerability. We know that coaching in organizations absolutely can challenge identity before it actually challenges skill. And so this tool, again, has 4 domains, and each one has a different pressure point on who you are inside of that coaching system. So first we have the role clarity and professional stance. What do I mean by that? That means, are you explicit about whether you're coaching, consulting, or advising? Where have the lines blurred? The second domain is about authority and approval and power dynamics. Can you challenge a senior leader without softening unnecessarily? Or does contract security affect your questioning? Domain 3 is all about the emotional labor and the boundary load. Are you distinguishing empathy from absorption? Are you carrying the engagement home? The last one is about presence under systemic complexity. When identity destabilizes, can you name what is real in the system without retreating to neutrality? When identity becomes destabilized, coaching's actually becomes safer, which may feel good, but I'm telling you what happens is it becomes shallower. When identity, I'm going to say that again, Identity helps pardon me, but I'm going to say this differently. Stable identity protects depth, and that is what we are assessing. Let's open up your diagnostic, and I'm going to walk you through again your experience, your playtime with this incredible tool. Again, I'd like you to complete the worksheet, then share with your group where your identity shifts the most. What questions are you currently not asking? And what the tool actually revealed. So you'll have 10 minutes. I'm thinking they'll be the same rooms. And I'm going to put you in breakouts now.
Everybody's back.
Fantastic. Welcome back, everyone. Let's have a good discussion in chat. Tell us, please, and thank you. What surfaced for you in this instrument? What surprised you? How was your conversation? Put it in chat, please, and thank you. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Bev. Fantastic. Meryl, yeah, almost meditative. Certainly reflects to be present in those questions before, during, and after. Absolutely. A stable identity protects the courageous coaching. So without it, we as coaches make safe choices. We ask those softer questions. We collude quietly. And so when we're under pressure, coaches often tend to become what? They become helpful, compliant, strategic, silent, performative. None of these aspects are coaching. And so let me ask you this, which version of you showed up most in what you just scored? Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Beautiful. Kristen, bring the heat. I love that. Mm-hmm. 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 Why do we do this? It's important to realize when we're in coaching and how stable our identity is, because a stable identity is a stable environment, is a stable ecosystem. Let's move to the third tool we are going to practice and play today. This one is a bit more structural. Let's go into the triad alignment framework. So most coaching tensions don't arise from incompetence. It actually arises from structural misalignment across our three-party system. And if you're working in an organization as an external coach, you know this incredibly well. And if you're working in an organization as an internal coach, it's the same. It just looks just a little bit different. So the challenge comes from this structural misalignment of this three-party system: the executive, the sponsor, and the coach. Now, these three parties have very different agendas. They have different definitions of success, and they have different relationships to power. And when those go unexamined, oh, the system can drift. So the triad alignment framework assesses three axes. The first one is ownership integrity. So who owns the coaching goal? And if you stripped out the sponsor's evaluation, would the executive still be working on it? That would be interesting. The next one is power and expectation clarity. How is power shaping this engagement? What is politically unspeakable? Are you softening your observations to preserve stability? Mm. And the third one is around performance intent and system context. What do I mean by that? What is this coaching fundamentally serving? Is it development? Is it containment? Is it behavioral polish? And are you clear on the answer? So when two axes weaken simultaneously, drift starts to accelerate. And alignment must be designed. If not, it does not sustain itself. So again, why do we do this as an anchor into our craft? The why is alignment must be designed. It doesn't happen naturally. If it's not designed, it doesn't sustain itself, and that is where the drift happens. Let's go into our last practice and play of this lab tool. So you're going to rate each of the three axes on a 1 to 5 scale, again, using a real engagement. 1 is you've got immediate recalibration that's required. This means that something is actively wrong and needs to be addressed before your next session. High vulnerability means you're at risk. It needs attention, probably this week. The subtle drift presence tells you that it's there, but you might be rationalizing it. The stable but monitor means things are good, but let's keep watching it. And 5 means that you are structurally stable, clean alignment. So the question for you to ask in your breakout is which axis is most vulnerable in that engagement? And what does that mean to you? Again, same process. I'm going to put you into breakouts. I'm going to ask you to please and thank you. Use the tool. Mary, my co-pilot, she's an amazing driver. I got to say thank you. She's put it in the chat if you want to have easy access to it. So again, spend a couple minutes, 3-4 minutes doing the assessment across those 3 axes, using the stability scan and score each one. Then spend 6 to 7 minutes sharing with your group which one for you was the most vulnerable and why. And then what needs to happen before your next session with that particular client. Are you ready? Let's go back into breakouts.
Here they are. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome, welcome, welcome back, everyone. So here you were asked to assess a real engagement across those 3 axes using the stability scan, and you were asked to score each one. Mary has put a question for you in the poll. Which one of these do you find that you're most vulnerable? Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Or is it D? Go ahead and put that in the chat. What came up for you in this? Performance intent. Yep. Oops, sorry. Performance intent. Lots of okay, Tate, thank you. Power and expectation. Brittany. Okay, look at that. Interesting. Interesting. This tells us something really important, doesn't it? It tells us something really important about the structural conditions most organizational coaches are operating in right now. What I love about this is that this now becomes your heat map. Lots of B's and C's, lots of B's and C's. So, takeaways for today, 3 tools in the toolbox, lab style. If you'd like to go deeper, you have access to the full instruments. We close with 4 takeaways, 4 anchors. Number 1, drift is predictable. It's not a surprise. It absolutely is a pattern, and patterns can be interrupted. The second one is that identity must be stabilized intentionally. It doesn't stabilize by itself. It requires reflective practice, supervision, and honest instrumentation. The third is alignment must be designed, not assumed. You cannot assume that your relationship, the triad between you, the sponsor, and the coachee is aligned. You have to assess it. You have to revisit it. And sometimes you have to recontract it when it shifts. And the fourth one is that professional maturity is drift aware. The most advanced coaches are not the ones who never drift. In fact, we drift more often. I drift, hence why the tools are here. We're the ones that have the opportunity to catch it at its earliest. And now you've got 3 instruments in your toolbox to add. And I'm sure your library is like all the other coaches that I know. You have a Smithsonian style library of tools for you to access. But now you've got 3 instruments that do exactly that, is to have you become drift aware. Before I break out into we're going to just a little bit of time for any Q&A, but I want to share with you why this came up and why these instruments are here. And so I have spent a lot of my time in training, and then as a trainer, I have taught certifications in CLC, CODC, CEC, you name it, executive coaching, all of that. But when it came to CODC and working with coaches, I crossed the intersect of strategy and people in order to drive performance. And none of the programs that I attended in any of our CODC talked about this, what happens to us as coaches when we're in a real engagement. What happens to us when we are, as an outsider, that third party in that triad, or when we're working in that organization. And so when I looked, this was happening to me. And when I looked around and I went to a whole bunch of other coaches and did a whole bunch of research, nobody was talking about this. But this is one of the most powerful things you could have as an internal, as an organizational coach, is your identity and the guardrails rails around that. We know that coaching in organizations is absolutely structural work. And the 3 tools that you used today are a part of the organizational coaching reality lab. All of this are professional instruments, and it's a suite designed for coaches operating at that architect level. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you may have. If you'd like to go deeper, I host open hours. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me on my website. I want to thank you, before we get into questions, for bringing your real work into this lab and for playing and practicing on tools. This is exactly what makes it useful. And if you'd like to bring this lab into your organization or explore anything else, please let me know. I open the floor for questions. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you, Allison. Questions, you can raise your hand, and come off mute and have a chat. Would love to hear perspectives or questions that you might have.
Mm.
Thank you, Alison.
Thank you.
I, I I would love to have you as a fly on the wall or like a bug in my ear. So, because I walk into sessions with so many notes of what I should remember, but I really
Mhm.
found all these tools so useful as
Mm.
kind of like, even though I ended up scoring quite high in these things, I think it's, you never know. And so what I don't know. And I think these were just wonderful. I mentioned after one of the tools that I felt it was almost meditative and reflective for me. And then I would sort of like to have it tattooed on my left arm so that, I can just look. I have a little cheat sheet and then be, in a sense, be in integrity. The key thing that I liked about this is what you're asking us to do is one of the key things that will qualify or disqualify you as an ICF credential coach is not performing in the role of coach.
Mhm.
And this, in a lot of ways, reinforces that. So I really thank you, and I like the work you're doing, and I will see more of you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank
Welcome.
you. Jason, thank you so very much. Yes, a lot of ground was covered. I fully believe that all ships rise at the with the tide. And I know that I felt so lost and I started to doubt myself when I was coaching in organizations and I really needed something to have an anchor and a tool to help me guide myself and believe in myself as that coach and not drift. Because we all spend so much time on our craft and we dance in the moment with the client, but then that self-doubt comes in. And one of the things that in my own journey going through coaching and then becoming a coach instructor, is that if you were to ask me why do I do this, why do I add the coaching in with the strategy and the people to drive performance, is I have met so many incredibly talented, beautiful, smart, incredibly impactful coaches who are not proud of their work. And I think that's a goddamn shame. Sorry for swearing.
Mm.
We work so hard and we serve so much, but when I introduce myself to people and I shake their hand and I say, hi, I'm this, and they say, hi, I'm a coach, I aim to level that playing field. I want every single coach to know how incredibly important and special that they are in this world and to be able to give you the tools for you to see that and believe that. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Allison. In my breakout group, I was talking as it was very validating for me as a newer coach to just check in and have that opportunity that, hey, I did take a right step here and I know what I'm doing. So that self-doubt kind of wiped away. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's such a privilege to spend time with you all. Please feel free to reach out to me. If you'd like me to be that fly on the wall, Meryl, absolutely, no problem.
All right. Well, thank you again, Allison. Such a pleasure to have you with us. For the rest of you, this is our lunch break, and we will be coming back. The next sessions begin at 1. But again, just one round of applause, silent applause for Allison for joining us and the clear expectations on how we can prevent the drift. Thanks so much, everyone.